This is Todd Owens with Capital Chaos TV, and we're here tonight at the Warfield in San Francisco with Steve Zetro Souza. So how you doing tonight, Steve?
Good. How are you? What's happening?
Doing very well.
Ready to go?
Ready to go, man. So yeah, I guess just third date into this little tour with King Diamond. So maybe we'll talk about a little bit about the tour and how it's going so far. Just 3 dates in, but anticipation.
Well, San Francisco, we know what to expect. We know it's going to be mayhem out there tonight. We know. And, you know, Denver was a pretty good crowd. Salt Lake was Halloween night, so they were all jazzed. But we expect tonight to set the criteria for the rest of the tour for sure.
Some good, friendly, violent fun, right?
Oh, definitely. Very friendly, very violent, but always having fun.
So I guess you're just getting started on the tour, but what's any differences touring now than versus touring 20, 30 years ago, back in the day?
Yeah, we're not whacked out on drugs like we used to be, you know, that kind of element. I think everybody's more concerned about their performance and how they're doing and their live show than, you know, we ever were. We were worried about the party. Is there going to be a party tonight? You know what I mean? It's what we're here for, right? You know, and so I think the mentality is definitely a lot different, more professional.
So you got this tour going on for another month or something like that into December, and then you got more touring plans with Exodus or end of the year or 2016 or
2016 is pretty packed. We go to South America in January, and then we're back in Europe in February and March for kind of a headlining jaunt. A lot of dates in the UK, and then we go to. We're going to probably do something in the States, not quite sure who with again, and then we go back to Europe in July and August, and we'll see what happens in it. So still a lot of touring going on in Exodus World.
And Gary will be, I guess, bouncing in and out, depending on his Slayer schedule.
Right, Gary's with Slayer right now, so we have his stunt double, Craig and Lum, who does an amazing job. You know, how are you going to cover Gary Holt just with anybody, you know, so we're very fortunate to have him. And yeah, I think South America, Gary's going to be with us. Hopefully the Europe dates through February, March, and the rest of the year.
All right, cool. So I guess it's been about a year since Blood In, Blood Out came out, the last album. So I just wanted to ask maybe your thoughts a year later, and then basically how it was. It had been about 10 years for you out of the band and then jumping back in. How was it to jump back into the band, and how quick did you get up to speed, I guess?
I think I was already up to speed, you know, by doing Dublin Death Patrol, Tenet, Hatriot, keeping my chops up. I guess it wasn't really that hard of a thing. And now being in a year later, it's great to have, you know, the fan response and the fan response for Blood In, Blood Out as well, you know. And we're still touring on that. It's still touring very strongly on it, and we still got a lot of mileage left on it for sure.
Any writing going on or whatever for new stuff, or you guys pretty much will focus on that down the road?
Yeah, we're going to focus on that when we think that the album title's pretty close to, you know, like, you know, time to start to go write another record for sure. We want to keep it fresh, want to keep going. The ship's moving really well in an upward direction, and we're all very excited about that.
It's your third stint with Exodus, third stint with Exodus.
3 times a charm. Me and Tom Hunting are tied. 3 times a charm. Third time's a charm, I guess. So yeah.
So I guess take it from your attitude that things are pretty rosy this time around, or?
Yeah, I think everybody knows how we're older men now. We're not even in our
mature.
I don't know about mature, but we're older. We're not even in our 40s anymore. We're now in our 50s, you know. So it's like, you know, I think understanding each other's space and that sort of thing is very important. And so we have built a relationship on that quite well.
Definitely have a lot of history with the guys, so good and bad, I guess, maybe, but hopefully mostly good.
I mean, you think of 30 years over, you know, it's like your family. You live with these people on the times. I mean, this is my family for the next 5 weeks. I see them every day, every minute of the day. They know when you're happy, when you're sad, when, you know, when everything goes on. So it's part of it.
All right, I just wanted to go back a little bit to the early days Bay Area, from the Bay Area. So you're part of that initial Bay Area scene, and just maybe some thoughts on what it was like back, you know, 1984, 85 in the Bay Area, Ruthie's Inn, and what the hell was going on here.
Well, you know, we didn't even know what the hell we were doing on that. I thought every city was like that, because even at that point, none of us had really traveled out. So you thought doesn't every town have 13 killer thrash bands deep, you know? And so it was
Slayer playing all the time.
Suicidal. There was a gig on Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, you know, Sunday afternoon. There was stuff going on constantly. So we were very fortunate to be a part of something that is just so revered by so many people and so many, you know, other genres of music that thrash metal has spawned as well. So I think that a magical time to look back at it for sure.
Basically, for the first 20 years, you and Bailoff kind of alternated, right, with vocals for Exodus. So what was did you have like a relationship with him, or did you get along with them? You're pretty close with him?
It was nothing personal. I mean, Exodus had, fired Bailoff. I had nothing to do with that. He even said, I don't blame Zetro for joining the band. I would have done the same thing. So when everybody thought we were kind of disliked each other or had a rivalry, we really didn't. I was the singer, he was the ex-singer, and then, right before he'd passed, he'd come back in. They were going to try it again with him, but it just, because he passed, it really didn't materialize, and it kind of fell back on my lap to, okay, you want to do this now? And I'm like, yeah, I guess, so my heart really wasn't. That's why the period was kind of short then, that stint. I really wasn't into it. Now it's like my heart is 3,000% into it.
Well, I do think Tempo of the Dam was a pretty killer album. Yeah. So, besides your history with Exodus, obviously a historic Bay Area thrash band, but you're also connected with Legacy/Testament. So you're one of the original members of Legacy. So just a couple questions about how that was, and maybe your thoughts on Legacy, and obviously the influence that Testament's had down the road. I know you're close with Chuck, and you kind of brought Chuck into Testament, right? So maybe just talk a little bit about that.
I was in Legacy, and then I was asked to join Exodus. This was in '86, and I know Chuck had played in another, wasn't really a thrash band, and I said, hey, you want to try out? And I was just, it was that sort of thing. I mean, we started Legacy because of Exodus, that type of music. We wanted to play like that, Most of the bands did. If you talk to Lee, he'll say he did Heathen the same reason, we were looking at what Exodus was doing, everybody was. So it worked out really well for everybody. It was it spawned this huge genre of music, and a lot of us still going, Testament's still going strong, Death Angel's still going strong, Exodus still going strong, Metallica obviously going strong. So a lot of the bands from this group, the groups we were with, are still kicking.
I know from interviewing some of the bands, they talk about, just being a lot smarter now and mature, and maybe not mature, but older, and realizing, what's important. And obviously, all these original bands are now have almost a second life, right? Or third life.
You were kids at the time, man, and you were like, they gave you the keys to the damn candy store and everything in it, and we took advantage of it. I ate my share of candy, believe me, and I think we all did, and we looked at it in that light. So I think that, now we're like, I've got kids that are, my son is 25, 22, and 17. I have older children, and so it's, like you said, it's responsibility. We're very fortunate we still get to play, heavy metal rock and roll on the level that we do get to do it on, so it's really, we're very fortunate.
Crazy times back then. I saw something recently online about, it was a post where you guys were at Bill Graham's house for some record release thing or whatever.
Hatriot's Flying in a Blue Dream.
It was like 88 or something.
Yeah, no, it was actually 89 or 90. It was Flying in a Blue Dream. We were invited to Bill's house because we were managed by Bill Graham Management at the time, and it was a great party. I was just thinking, wow, how killer is this? We're at Joe Satriani's.
I heard Bill made like an appearance in like a Hugh Hefner robe or something.
Yeah, he was totally. He was at home, so he wore his smoking jacket that night. It was great. We were at his house. It was great. I remember that night.
Didn't get too crazy.
No, there was a lot of industry people there. You know what I mean? But just great to be invited to Bill's house. And we were very fortunate to be on a management with a guy with the magnitude and the reputation as Bill Graham. We've been
huge in the Bay Area, obviously, or nationwide,
worldwide, if you talk about it. But he's just like, to us, he was really personal. He loved the Metallica guys, he loved all the Bay Area musicians. That's why he's so, well respected amongst all of us.
Okay, other projects. You got other projects going on, just Exodus pretty much. So
I'm helping Cody write lyrics for Hatriot because he's going to be the singer, my son, and so we're just that's the next thing we're doing. When I'm home,
you're pretty much cease and desist in Hatriot.
Well, that was them. They came to me and said, we want to continue. You're very busy with Exodus now, Dad, so we want to continue this. So that's where we're at.
Dublin Death Patrol. That might.
Chucking too busy with. He's got Testament. I got Exodus. He's got his management company. We got too much stuff going on.
All right. I did want to say, I know last month was an anniversary. It was 28 years since Pleasures of the Flesh was released, and so just personally, that was a huge influential album for me.
Thank you.
Growing up on the East Coast, and that was just like the epitome of Bay Area thrash to me.
We're actually trying to work. We're not playing them tonight, but we're actually working some of those songs, like the old Deranged and stuff like that, into the set. So definitely going to bring some of that stuff back.
I guess that's all I had for you. Anything you wanted to add for Capital Chaos TV people out there might be watching?
Thanks for always supporting us. We love that. We'll always be a part of you guys, and keep the metal heavy.
Too much abroad,